Hey, are you ready? Welcome to the Say Michael podcast. What's up? What's going on? Welcome to the Say Michael podcast, one man's attempt at business, family, and comedy. This is episode number Jordan. That's episode 23. We episode 23 right now. I am your host, Michael Aigbedion. And so far, I'm having a great day. The weather outside, I don't know what's going on with Texas, but the weather outside is starting to feel like Cali. And I'm liking it. Where the sun is bright, but that wind is nice and cool. It feels good outside. It feels like it's like nice, crisp, like 70, 78, 77, 78. That's where we're at right now. And it encouraged me this morning to get up, because I've been on this health kick as far as eating better, getting back to my workouts, because I must say this whole 3 months rest I've had, I've gotten so much rest and so many naps that I'm starting to feel lazy. So I'm breaking out of it. I'm getting back to my workouts. I'm eating better. I'm doing all the things that require a lot of discipline. And this morning, I went out to go take a jog. And, there's nothing scarier than to get halfway through your jog and realize you forgot your inhaler or your asthma pump at home. Because, I'm asthmatic, right? And halfway through my jog, I realized that this gets lawnmower. Like everyone's mowing their lawn today, and so everyone seemed to be either mowing their lawn, and I'm running, and I start seeing lawnmowers like you, and then I'm seeing like the weed whacker. I'm seeing weed whackers out. People had the leaf blowers, and that's like your worst nightmare if you have like asthma or even like allergies and you didn't like take the right precautions. So I'm halfway through. Man, and as I'm running through one like cloud of smoke, after I was like, man, it's hard for me to breathe. And I'm like running still. I'm like, is it that I'm tired? Or is it that it's hard for me to breathe right now? And then as I'm going, I'm like, let me turn on this street. Turn on the street, same thing. So many people are mowing their lawns and they're blowing it. I was like, oh, let me go this other. You know what it kind of reminded me of when I was going down that way to change lanes? In the part of Boys in the Hood, where it's like the legendary part. If you haven't seen Boys in the Hood, you got to watch it. It's a classic. And there's a part in it where he's like, Ricky! Ricky! That's how my lungs were calling me when I took that right and I saw that powder. Michael! Michael! And let me go this other way. And I'm going this other way. And then I end up getting caught up in more, like at the front of this apartment complex. I'm like, maybe I need to like call my wife to come down here, who may be in the shower, to come bring my asthma pump just in case, because that's why I was worried. I'm halfway home and I'm thinking, how like it got that bad where I really need my asthma pump and I don't have it with me. So there's nothing scarier than that, to be asthmatic and not to have your pump halfway through a jog while people are mowing lawns. It could cause new fears into lawnmowers, weed whackers, and everything. And that was a little bit nerve wracking, but I made it. And guess what? The first thing I did when I got to the crib, hit that pump. That's the first thing. On the way when I was jogging, I listened to Freddie Gibbs, right? And he has this new album that's out, and he has this one line that's a little bit interesting, right? And this is what it is. This is what it is. I want you to hear. God made me sell crack, so I had something to rap about. He said, God made me sell crack, so I had something to rap about. That's not true. God made you sell crack? No. I think selling crack is a choice. You heard Whitney. Whitney said crack is whack. Crack is whack. And this is in 7th grade. So while he's selling crack, I'm selling Coke. Because in 7th grade, I took the money I had, bought a Coke machine, filled up with a bunch of Cokes, and sold it to customers. Or I could have sold crack. I could have, but I chose not to. I feel like that's a choice. And he should remember, the late Whitney, and what she said, that crack is whack. And I hope that nobody out there is thinking that you need to sell crack, or God's making people out there sell crack, because that's not happening. Especially, making you sell crack so you have something to rap about. That was a wild line. And I'm thinking, you didn't have to sell crack, and but some people, I guess, that's the thing about sometimes with that, some people might not see, is that, certain levels of oppression through time kind of make you blind to opportunities that are out there for you, so maybe he thought all he could do was sell coke. I mean, not coke, crack, but he could have did other things, like buy a vending machine or a candy machine, or, go into business that he didn't have to risk his freedom, especially just to have something to rap about, because he could have rapped about that, but maybe not. I don't know. But as soon as I got back to the crib, after listening to all that, album's okay so far. Haven't listened all the way through. I got to the crib and I said, all right, what am I going to do first? First thing, to be my best, because I'm thinking I got to be my best. This is in the morning. And I was like, hygiene comes first. You can't be your best if you're not clean. That's already. So before I'm like, let me do some work before I brush my teeth, and let me do some work before I take a shower. Nah, I hopped in that shower, brushed my teeth, and you got to remember, your boy's still flossing. You're still flossing. Got out the shower, floss first, but hygiene is number one. And as soon as I finish taking a shower, finish flossing, how I do, the next thing I did is I hopped on calls. I said, I gotta crank these calls out, and the calls that I made today, they're the sales calls. They're the ones I'm calling previous customers, future customers, and it's been going great so far. I can't get to my above $1 million goal yearly if I don't pick up some of the work, because we have it where making calls to customers, making sure that their appointments are taken care of, and filling up that calendar. If I'm calling too and making calls, and I have a higher close rate because I know exactly what I'm talking about, it actually makes it a little better, for the business, because I could control my destiny a little bit more. I don't have to rely, because I would just, before all this, even though I'm we're still doing well, even through the ending of this whole, stay-at-home orders, that the sales have been good. But I'm like, what if I started doubling up in, not waiting for people to call me, and not just having someone who could just, make calls here and there to help schedule customers, but how if I actively make calls? And this is kind of where my plan is right now, is that I'm actively making calls, every morning. I'm filling up. I'm talking about I'm selling more than $1,000 a day, easy, every single day. And I'm filling up the calendar, making sure that's happening. And now that's going to lead me to where I'm going to get the right assistance that I need to continue making calls. And then also, hit the floor at the ground level, start knocking on doors and passing out flyers that way to the immediate, get to the customer immediately, the email blasts, just certain levels that I got to get consistent in, just so I could better control what my future is going to be. Because, this is all leading to having not only a system that works, that repeats itself, because I do have goals. The products are about to be released, and I'm also introducing, it's not going to be at the same time where the products come out, but I'm also introducing the opportunity to I would say franchise, but it's going to be more partnering and licensing the Water Boys, so we could go into different areas and have someone who is in essence just like me, who is managing everything and making sure that the employees are going out and doing their job. And I'm giving people the opportunity to start their own car wash that way. That's a little bit easier, but man, when you're making those calls, there's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of rejection. And I don't know if, through getting rejected so often, that it's almost like I'm either getting more used to the rejection, or it hurts a little less, because when you when you're going out for something that you want and you don't get it, it kind of hurts a little bit. It kind of hurts a little bit. But when you do it a lot, and do it until you're really used to it, it gets to a level where the rejection kind of fades faster. The feeling of that rejection goes away quicker, or you get used to it, and then it becomes nothing, but I have been encountering, nothing's worse. I think anybody could say this in business. Nothing's worse than a cheap ass customer. When you have like someone who's like a cheap ass, ooh, that's something hard to deal with, because cheap ass customers, they want all your time. They want you to do all this work. They have all these questions. You need all this help, and you basically do it for nothing because they want the cheapest thing you got. And I remember one time there's a moment where I had to talk to a customer, and this is the first time ever about this, because we were sending detailers to people's homes to get their cars cleaned, right? So in this incident, the customer had a Tesla SUV and an older Honda Accord. And, there's a certain deal that they got it on to get both at the same time or whatever. But either way, I would have to send different detailers. After a while, I have to keep sending different detailers, and it got to a point to where, the consistency wasn't there because I kept having to change. So I'm like, let me call my employees and see what's going on. Why is it that they don't want that particular customer? So I called two, and they're like, honestly, to be honest, it's just not a great service when I go over there. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, when I go there, they're, very pushy. They're mean. They have me do all this extra stuff, but they don't want to pay for it. And, they don't tip. That's what my employees telling me. I'm like, okay, well, I can't really do anything about the tip. He's like, yeah, but when they have you doing all this extra, work, and you try to tell them like what it'll cost, and they don't want to do that. And then like it's hot and they don't really accommodate you in certain ways. It doesn't make it, I don't know. It's just not, I don't enjoy that, that customer very much. And then it's similar to what the other employee said about that customer. So, it was an opportunity. I mean, there's a moment where I had to change that customer out again. And this is where I was like, let me call this customer and then, talk to him. And this is like one of the cringiest, most awkward conversations I've had with a customer, where I called her. I was like, hey, how you doing? Let's just call her M. And I was like, hey, I just want to see if I could, because we had like I would say more of a closer relationship than other customers, because I knew of her. I didn't know her personally like that, but we talked pretty well because we knew each other pretty well based on like discussions. So I'm like, hey, I just wanted to see if I could talk to you about something. And then basically I'm trying to talk to her about the fact that, some of the employees don't feel very comfortable going over there. And she was like, what is that? What can we do? And I was like, I guess they said something about, I'm not sure, being nice. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't even know why I went this direction, but I felt like maybe there's an opportunity where if I'm being honest and I'm being truthful, that would turn out to be like a plus. Maybe I'm being blind to trying to be too professional and not inform the customer of certain things, or I can maybe, be a little bit more human and talk to them on a one-on-one level and let them know kind of what's going on and like some honest feedback. So I'm telling her, she's like, what can I do? I was like, they said something about like, sometimes it's hot and there's no like, you don't offer water, and it's, you want them to do, certain services, and, you didn't want to, pay more for it or something like that. But she's like, okay. And then, something about, I guess they felt that, I guess, I don't know, they said something about tips. They didn't feel like it was very fair, doing the extra work and then not receiving anything after. She's like, how can I be a bad tipper if I don't tip at all though? And I was like, exactly. Exactly. And she's like, oh, so what, like, am I supposed to, cause I'm not from here. I mean, am I supposed to tip? I was like, no, you don't have to tip. It's just your option. But, that's kind of maybe how they feel appreciated when it comes to service. That's kind of like how they feel, and She's like, well, what is a good tip? And I was like, I don't know, whatever you like to give. Actually, it's not required, but it's just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone feels comfortable. And then the next time, like we went to their home, like a little bit after, and then after that, they were members. They quit the membership after that, and I was like, man, I knew that was a bad conversation to have. I knew I shouldn't have, gotten that honest, with them about, like how an employee feels about them, because I knew that honestly was going to end up being my downfall on that one. But I guess it was more of a plus because, like how I looked at it, the solution wise to that was, okay, rather than calling a customer and telling them, hey, I think that, you're not tipping very well, it could be a situation where because of all the extra that's being done, that you would have to adjust their price to accommodate what their requests are. So they would have to, in essence, pay more. I can't give them a super deal if, there are just a lot more things that they need versus having a conversation about, tipping. But, you usually find that kind of stuff out in the end about the issues with someone being like a super cheap customer who's going to take up all your time and it's going to be for nothing. You usually find that at the end because they ask all the questions. They look super interested. Oh, wow. I like that. I'll tell them about all my menu. I'll tell them about, we got the $25 service. We got the $50 service. We got the $125 service, the $200, $400. And they're like, oh, okay, so how did this work? And, y'all come at this time. Okay, what was that $25 service you mentioned? He's like, yeah, let me do that. And then if they really know the game, they'll be like, is there any like discounts you're doing or anything like that? But then if you know that, if they get the cheapest thing and they ask for a discount, you're looking for a headache going forward. And I would say it's best probably not to let those customers continue with you because it's not worth it. Having a headache customer it's just not worth it, in any case. But, yeah, it's kind of awkward when it comes to having those type of conversations. But I don't suggest anybody have those kind of conversations. The whole George Floyd got buried yesterday, and that happened in his home city, Houston. And I got my boys out there, Fred and Greg Noir, out there capturing history. Because this thing, the protest, the understanding that's happening, where it's just kind of bringing a lot of things to light and a lot of things to surface. You're actually seeing that, like, look how large this change is. Because of all the protests, okay, let me be a little bit more clear. George Floyd they're saying like he's going to change the world based on what happened with him. And it's true because already they're going to change the definition of racism in the dictionary. In Merriam-Webster, they're going to change the definition of the word racism because, a young lady by the name of Kennedy Mitchum, she was in college and she's experiencing that when she tries to let people know about her experience when it comes to racism, everyone pointed to the dictionary and said, oh, because of this is the definition, it therefore doesn't make me racist or doesn't make me racist in the way that you're saying that happens to you. So they're actually going to make it a little bit more broader of a definition, and they're going to include systemic oppression. That's one of the changes they're going to make, is including systemic oppression, not saying that it's easier, for you, for having privilege because she goes to a really, great school. Is more the sense that, because you're of a certain color, you have to go through a few more hurdles. There are hurdles there just because of your color, and that's it. No, nothing else, so, that is huge. And that change is going to come this upcoming August. And I would like to see what that new definition is, but on other notes, eBay apparently is doing 4 or 5 times more business than they used to due to this whole coronavirus. Like, eBay wasn't really as strong because they was kind of losing a battle when it came to like Amazon and Walmart and Alibaba. eBay was the one who started this whole kind of online bidding, online selling first on that level, and they kind of took a back seat. But now with this, with the pandemic that was happening, they actually grew, 4 or 5 times. And even I told you the story about the whole StubHub sale they had with the previous owner who bought it back. Well, that was actually one of their most profitable moves by selling StubHub, like in February, right before the pandemic hit. So like eBay is being praised for the fact that they like sold it right on time. And it sucks for the person who bought it, which was the original founder who bought it back for redemption. And then now they're like, he spent $4 billion on a dud, so that was that's interesting to see. So their stocks are going up. A lot of things are happening on that side. And then also Warren Buffett, okay, when the pandemic hit, you would think that the stock market would like sell off based on it. But I think everyone's looking at it and saying, all right, the stock market is going to come back because this is not going to last forever. So all these downward turns with like airlines and different businesses and services, restaurants, they're going to eventually come back because this is not forever. And Warren Buffett sold at least in Berkshire Hathaway, he sold all his airline stock, like sold it all. But airline stocks sold 11 times more when the pandemic was happening because people want to hold their money there because they knew it was going to come as a rebound, but that is a plus that's happening right now that, it's starting to hit a rebound, and you're going to see a ginormous rebound happen after July 31st. So that's going to be August 1st, and the reason why is because a lot of people are getting that boost. They said 50% of all the people who've been laid off in this country have received $600 a week more in federal unemployment just to make sure they're okay. So, and they said 50% of the people who were laid off are actually making more than the job they were working at before they were laid off. So a lot of people are at home chilling. I got friends who are at home, getting a TikTok right. Like they're trying to like build their TikTok, because why would you have to worry about being out trying to get a job when you got 600 plus on top of the unemployment that you were receiving coming in on a weekly basis? What, man? And then that makes it harder for people who are at work, who are like, you got essential workers who are making like $11, $12 an hour. And you got people who are at home doing nothing, making over $1,000 a week. Now that has to straight up suck, to be out there working, and be making less than people who are kicking their feet up on unemployment. But after July 31st, all that should drop down, because I guess that federal aid is gonna end for a lot of people July 31st. And from there, a lot of people should be returning back to the workforce, and we should see how interesting it will be, out here. But there are some cool like discoveries that are coming of this, after talking to a few of the people I do business with, they're talking about how, they're talking about how they're liking the fact that a lot of things now are more by appointment only. I know walk-through traffic is important, but the whole appointment only part, a lot of people are starting to like. The bankers are starting to like it. You're starting to see retail, where they work a certain amount of hours that are for people to just come in and walk in, and then walk in traffic, and then there's another certain amount of time that they set aside just for appointments only. And the reason why they love appointments only is because it allows you to be prepared for your customer, interact a little bit better, and then not to try to split your attention when you have too much going on. And in the banking, you could be banking, everything could happen one at a time, but then all of a sudden too many people come in at one time, and now you're just like unprepared. Some people have longer questions, some people have bigger issues, and so much things are happening. Same thing in retail, where especially during this whole pandemic, where you're trying to stay safe, you're trying to feel safe, so you're trying to separate and keep as much space away from people that you can, but whenever it's crowded and you're helping a lot of people, then some people are starting to feel insecure and feel, unsafe, so, I wonder where that's going to go, based on this whole pandemic. I'm interested into seeing where that goes. Also, just so I must mention, so I'm talking about changes that need to be made now that things are being brought to light, is that we need to get rid of invoicing, because invoicing has to be one of the most painful things for small businesses going forward. And basically invoicing, when you produce product and you manufacture it and you sell it, and you have to wait, 30 plus days for whatever it is that someone owes you based on an invoice, that is the worst. It's actually I feel like it's on the edge of illegal to invoice somebody and them take their time to pay you, and you have no power there, because the communication, a client's communication is all the way up and up. Their communication up and up until the deal is done. After the deal is done, they start dragging their feet. They don't want to pay you for whatever it is that they said they want to do, and you're thinking, what kind of deal is this? You're like big on communication before, but now that it comes time to pay me, you're slow with communication. Issues are happening. You got to send this to somebody. You need a certain format with your invoice. And basically, when that company has to pay out, let's say it is anything above $500, it's basically like a free loan for them, because they don't have to use the money that they have, and they could pay it off later on, so they could kind of recoup profits off of whatever it is that you did for them, and and benefits from that, and then be able to get your invoice and say, I'll pay you whenever. But man, invoicing is probably one of the hardest. It's one of the main reasons why it's difficult trying to do business out there, because if you're in a business where you rely a lot upon invoices, and you have to wait months sometimes, and you have to be chasing people for something you already earned, it's a really weird feeling. When you have to call somebody when you're not trying to sound desperate for something that you earned. You're calling them like, hey, I'm just trying to follow up, and then make it seem like you're bothering them. They're trying to turn it around on you. That's not right. I do have to prepare, because my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law are coming in. I remember in college they called this Hell Week, and my sister-in-law, mother-in-law, my wife always gang up against me when it comes to things that I want to talk about. Anything that I have an opinion about, they gang up against me, and I never win. And the plus side is that they get to help watch the boys. I love that. They get to connect with them. The downside is that there's going to be a little more tightness in my shoulders, a little more shoulder stress that happens. I remember one time we had visitors, and right after they left, this was for a few days, right after they left, I felt tremendously loose. I felt like a weight literally has been lifted off my shoulders. And I said, what is that? I didn't feel stressed when they were here, but I feel like I just got rid of stress. What is that? And a lot of that, what me and my wife discussed, was the fact that when someone's in your space and you got to be on, oh man, when you're on, when someone's in your area, like visitors or someone staying the night, you can't just be off. I'm talking about your real you, where you're walking around in boxers, not brushing your teeth, being lazy, whatever it is that you do personally that you don't want to involve others on, that's private to you. You got to be on and make sure that you accommodate your guests and make sure that they're comfortable and that they're enjoying their time. And yeah, being on is it's pretty heavy, and I know these next few days I'm definitely going to be on, and that's going to create a little in the shoulders. But I love when they come. I always love when they come, and yeah, we always have a great time. But I would like for everyone, if you're out there, I have to say this. This is I don't know if it's a tip or what, but if you're making calls out there for whatever it is that you're trying to build, and you're hitting up people, trying to get them to hear you out or buy whatever you got, if people aren't calling you back or following up with you, that means that you might be saying the wrong thing. That's what you have to. You if people aren't hitting you back, you might be selling it wrong. So if because even when people don't answer or people don't like want your service or want whatever you have or whatever you offer, or your entertainment, whatever, it still makes an impression. It still lets people know that what you're doing it lets them know that it's out there. So you still make a really solid impression. But if you're finding out that people are saying no a lot, or that people are, in a sense, not interested or not calling you back, you might be selling it wrong. So I would like for you to get more into a habit of changing up your script and changing up what you have to say if people aren't hitting you back and answering your calls. Because, if you have something to sell, which everyone does, a talent, a product, a service, something, if people aren't calling you back, you might be selling it wrong. Yeah. And today I hope that you get to listen to a nice, great, juicy conversation. And this is going to be a story. Look, I want you to hear, like I told you before, every week I'm telling you the conversations are getting deeper and deeper. It's starting to get to where the level of conversation that me and my wife have on the podcast is starting to be the way we have our conversations in person, and it's getting better and better. And again, I invite your questions. I'd love for you to take a listen to the second part. Strap in, because it's going to be some storytelling. There's going to be some stuff in it, have fun with it. And I'm done here. So see you later at the second session. Now enjoy your conversation with me and my wifey.
Hi everyone.
How you doing though?
I'm doing good. I had a glass of wine in the middle of the day.
For real?
Yeah.
Because you went out.
Yeah, I went out, met up with a girlfriend. We had lunch.
How was that?
It was good. We went to 60 Vines.
60 Vines is like it's supposed to be like
it's real fancy.
It's like a playoff of like wines and things
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
they do. They specialize in wines.
I wonder if they have 60 different wines.
They do. They said that.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they do. Look at you. They said, and they have like, it's taps, like 60 taps of wine. Instead of like beer, it's wine.
It's like a wine bar.
Yeah, pretty much.
So instead of like beer on tap, there's different
wine
type of
on
wines.
tap. Mm-hmm.
Did you choose? How'd you choose the wine?
Well, I just asked him what was the sweetest one, and he recommended
The
it.
sweetest that they have in the
I
building?
like sweet red wine. So it was like the sweet red rose wine, and that's the wine that we drink anyway. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll get that. But then I saw rosé on the menu, so I was like, I'm gonna try something different. I was causing too much trouble, but we had a good time. I like how they had the restaurant all decorated, and they had the table 6 feet away. So I was kind of a little nervous, but once I got in, I was fine.
Did you see masks? Were they wearing masks?
The people who worked there, yes. So all the waiters, waitresses, the hostess, everybody had on a mask except the people who were there eating. Mm-hmm. So the guests, we were all seated far away from each other.
Someone had it was like a viral. It went slightly viral. It was a guy who invented a mask that you could eat with, and it had a mask, and then there's a button that you press, and the part opens. And you could, yeah. And then so people were getting really upset. People were like, that's not even an invention. Like that won't keep you clean and da da da.
Yeah.
But the person did it as like a spoof, like a joke.
Oh, of course they did.
But the video, it looked like they were like taking it really seriously. Like they took a lot of time.
Yeah.
They finally have they went through like different prototypes. They finally have the one that works. And then he's like pressing buttons and he has the food.
Oh my God.
So people looked like it was a real invention.
Oh my goodness. I remember when this first quarantine happened, my dad was going to meet up with his friends and have beer, but they were going to sit outside and drink. I was like, oh, well, make sure you wear your mask, but just poke a hole in it so you could so you can sip your beer with a straw. He was just like, if I'm gonna do all that, then I'm not gonna go.
Could you imagine someone with a
hole in it?
Hole
with the straw, just sipping beer with their boys, like drinking out of a straw.
Yeah, does it make you feel safer when you see that, or do you make you feel like awkward and weird?
I mean, it's still weird to see everybody with masks because I don't even want to wear it anymore. I'm just kind of over it. But, it's weird to see it in a restaurant, especially with the waiters. They're all sweating and stuff. I'm like, ugh.
What do you mean they're sweating?
They're, running back and forth, grabbing the food and stuff. And, they're already sweating. And then they have to wear the mask. It's like.
They have sweat on their mask?
Yeah.
That's
because that sweat from the forehead.
no.
I'm like, is it really protecting us though?
Yeah.
Because the sweat, can't we catch the virus from the sweat?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah. See,
but I don't know if it's like different ways that you can catch it easier than others. Like sweat, I doubt would be as toxic, I would say, as like saliva, you know?
This whole thing is just weird.
Yeah, you know, there's another thing. Let me make sure I remember first. Because it's about someone who said, like, they're saying it about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay. And he had his mask on, and they're saying that, look at you, there goes you're wearing something that's taken away from our democracy. What? Because they feel that either you could be free and be yourself, but if you're wearing a mask, that means that you're socializing yourself.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And then he's like, he's fighting back on people who are commenting what he thinks are just like weak things towards like the courtesy of wearing a mask or not.
Oh my God. People just always have stuff to say.
But so how's work? You're off today.
I'm off today. Yeah, I am enjoying it, but it's going by too fast.
Yeah, it went by really fast.
Like I met up with my friend at 12:30. It's already 4:00. Before you know, we have to go pick up the boys. It's just like, man, my whole day just was, I don't know where it went.
And even before we get the boys, we have to squeeze in time to get this mailbox.
Oh, y'all. Okay, you tell our viewers about the mailbox, or our listeners
about the both, right?
Yeah.
So tell the whole entire story, or just tell the part about the mailbox?
Yeah, the mailbox. Let's start with the mailbox first.
Yeah, and okay, so yesterday I'm on the phone with one of my friends, a gentleman by the name of Rick Boo, and
hey, Rick Boo.
While I'm on the phone with them, I hear a sound like douche. I didn't know what it was. I just, how you hear something that like sounds like it hits something. Yeah. But you don't really pay attention because you kind of look around and nothing's really different. You're like, right. I guess something fell. And
you're on the phone, so you don't really even. You thought you hear a noise, but you're like, maybe it was like the background noise. Of the person that I'm on the phone with.
Yeah. So you're not really keen on that. Yeah. And then maybe 15 minutes later, I got a ding ding at the door. At the door. Right. So I'm like, all right, hold on real quick. So I get the door. And I look and I'm like, it's my neighbor, And I open the door and he has like our mail in his hand and he says, here you go. I said, oh, okay. Did they put this in your mailbox? He says, no, this comes from your mailbox. I was like, I don't understand. And he's like, come take a look. Come see your mailbox. And we walked out, and when I was coming out with them, there was like two other neighbors who were there, and they're all like zeroing in, kind of like from different different like perimeters, and then like our mailbox was completely gone. It was just nothing there. I was like, what? I'm like, I don't get it. Like I'm literally confused. I'm like, and it looked like it tore off. I'm kind of like confused at this whole thing, and they actually show that it flew like maybe about like 30 feet to the neighbor's house. If there's someone standing outside, it would like hurt somebody.
Oh wow! And we have a big mailbox too.
Yeah. And I'm like, what's happening? He's like, yeah, we heard a sound. We didn't really know. We didn't really see it. And at this time, I'm thinking in my head, is this some kind of movie setup where, like I'm being intimidated because, like maybe they don't like the mailbox, or maybe because I'm black. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh my goodness.
So, the neighbor was like, yeah, we're going to look at our camera. We're going to let you know what we find. And then eventually, they called me and they said, hey, or they rang the doorbell and said, hey, come back. Came back to their house, saw the camera that's from their angle. And it was a white, Dodge Ram 1500 that I guess kind of veered off the road a little bit, and douche just exploded our
oh my goodness
mailbox.
And for you guys who haven't been to our house is like on an uphill, and we're like at the very top of that hill. I want to say, but it's like a curve.
Yeah, it curves slightly.
Yeah, so we're like on the end of the curve. I guess
no,
you want to say,
like when you're going straight on the road. Yeah. Okay, our road twists and turns.
Yeah.
So at there's parts of our road where there might be a house at the twist, at the turn.
Right. It gets a little confusing.
Yeah. So as you're coming up to our house, that's about where the curve is gonna start.
Exactly.
And so if you're not really paying attention, which I'm giving that person the benefit of the doubt, that they weren't paying attention, and that they kind of went up on the curb, not really paying attention to the curve, and then hit our mailbox. But not to leave a note or anything.
Well, of course they wasn't gonna leave a note.
You don't expect that?
No.
Look, if you hit douche,
I might get out just to look at the car, but other than that, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Look,
Why?
I mean, why would I stop and write a note? First of all, I don't have a pen or paper in my car, so where am I get that from to leave a note?
You could knock on the door and say, hey.
And then they be like, I need like $600.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because we looked up mailboxes today and they ain't cheap.
Yeah, they're nice though. You know,
they're nice, but they're expensive.
I was looking forward to this, because I'm
buying a new mailbox.
No, not buying a new mailbox. A new journey into mailbox shopping. It's something that you never think you're really gonna do.
I know you even told me to go on mailbox.com. Y'all, there's no such thing.
Yeah, but I was more looking for mailboxes on a website that you could buy because I'm thinking there has to be some website that focuses on super dope like mailboxes.
Yeah, like Home Depot.
Yeah, we went on Home Depot, found some good ones.
We did, but you went on Etsy. You got hella creative.
Yeah.
That's something that I would do that I didn't even think of.
Yeah, now look, the Etsy. Look, I'm seeing some mailboxes for like $4,500.
Yeah,
some for
expensive.
$2,500. See, look, when you get around that at $500, that's when the mailboxes get. I gotta have it.
Yeah, they're really nice.
But when you get to around so what we found on like Home Depot, anything under like $60,
yeah,
it's gonna make you look like you're broke. You know what I mean?
Like the basic ones.
Yeah, because they have a regular basic plastic.
You were like, is that plastic? No, we can't do plastic. We can't do plastic.
Because I'm thinking the neighbors, look, I even had a theory that maybe the neighbors banded together and said, you know what, we want them to get a new mailbox. Let's pay a mailbox hitman to knock out their mailbox so we can switch it up. Because if that was the case, it's so dumb that we wouldn't even question it.
No, we wouldn't. But for you to even think of it, though.
Yeah, but that's the genius of it, right?
No, I think it's kind of dumb.
No. I would think that would be low-key genius where someone's like, look, I am a hired person who, in essence, upgrades your neighborhood. So if there's something that you have a problem with your neighbors, I'll destroy it, making sure that I help the neighborhood come together to fix it. No?
Oh my God, that's horrible because we've been having issues with our grass for the longest. So you think they're going to hire somebody to come set our grass on fire?
No, but see, this is again where the theory comes in, where the genius comes in.
Okay.
If someone hit our mailbox yesterday and destroyed it,
okay,
and then somebody came by today and said, hey, I noticed you don't have a mailbox and it's out. I actually build mailboxes.
Oh my goodness.
And if you're interested, I could do something for you for $100, $150. I got some in the car right now.
Oh my goodness.
And you would tell me, would you buy or would you, like if you saw a good one?
I would not buy because the history of us being in this house, every time we see somebody doing like landscaping or something at the neighbor's house down the street or something, then we get them to come over here and they screw it up.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not trusting nobody.
I got a solution for it.
What's that?
I said, because we saw someone doing renovation a couple blocks away.
Yes, we did.
And they were doing a good job. It was two people at the same time, and we were like, "Hey, can I get your information?" Then
we go across the street like,
"Hey, can we get your information?" And they're like, "Yeah, we do this, we do that. This is my daughter's house. We do this, and that." And I'm like, "Yeah, we need to call these guys." You know. Then I'm like, solution to our previous problem where we had someone put in jasmine grass, and they put in too many small little spaces, and it literally, like he said, give it 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, it's dead and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, man,
that was such a waste of money. We paid a lot of money.
Yeah, we watered it. It was a lot of like, it was annoying. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, the next time we want someone to like work on our home, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have it where we wait till they're done first. To see how it looks. Because when we went to our neighbors who we saw the people who were doing jasmine grass, we saw that their grass, like they just put it in. I'm like, let's holler at them. I got their number. They said, we'll do it for you. Came the next day, did it for us. But when we came back 6 weeks later, ours was terrible. Yeah, it was horrible. Theirs was terrible. Theirs all went away.
Yeah, it was bad.
So I got hair in my mouth.
Ooh.
That's kind of crazy.
But yeah, we're gonna have to wait.
Yeah, so
see how that works out before we hire them.
Yeah, so we're doing a little bit of mailbox shopping today.
Yeah, that should be fun and interesting. I've never went shopping for a mailbox before.
Yeah, but you don't care about that.
No.
It's not really a big deal.
I mean, because there's so much that we want to do on the outside of the house. I'm like, so do we get a mailbox that match the house that we have now? Or do we get the mailbox for the house in the future, once we like remodel the house?
Yeah, that is a good.
Like, how does that work? Because if we get the house that we want for the future, if we get the mailbox for the future house,
It's not gonna go with it.
Yeah, it's not gonna look right. So I'm like, so what do we do? Do we get a cheap one for now, or do we go ahead and get that good one? But
I think you have to get a good one now.
Yeah.
That will just require you to either just paint or just that kind of goes with almost anything home.
That makes sense.
Because there's someone on Etsy who was selling a way to make a certain type of mailbox.
They were selling instructions.
Yeah, instructions for $22. I'm pretty sure they're probably doing well. But the mailbox looks great, right?
Yeah, people were posting their
the results. Yeah, and they're like, I'm looking at how how's I was like, they built that?
Yeah.
It's really nice, right? But when I invest in things like that, it's always a problem. Because when I finally get it, right? And we have the whole kit, we go get the wood, they say where to nail it, where to make the plot for the cement, do all that. And halfway through, something would happen where the wood's bad or the color of the wood is terrible.
Yeah.
And I spent so much time and money. I'm at that halfway point where I'm like, okay, what do I do? Do I, try to finish and leave it looking like, the way it is, like a unprofessional?
Right.
Or do I get a professional, have them come in, but I just spent all this time and money.
I know, that's the hard part.
Yeah, and you have to figure out, okay, what do I do? Usually me, I always realize it's a mistake by halfway, and I hire someone who does it for real.
Right.
Like moving. Like you think you can move and rent all this stuff and do all that. You're like, I should have just paid someone to do it.
Exactly. It's always a headache.
Yeah. So, but see, the part of the story that was odd was, okay, stuff happened earlier in the day that made me feel like that mailbox situation was a little suspect.
Oh my goodness.
Because, like earlier, this is when you're at work, right? And, I'm getting home. I'm like, this is going to be a great day. I'm going to get a whole bunch accomplished midday. And I get home around like 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I see the neighbors. I'm like, hey, wave through the car. Then I'll park in the garage. And I come back. And, hey, what's going on? They're like, hey, what's going on, Mike? And they're talking about how, they're enjoying themselves. They're older. They're, just taking care of themselves during this whole coronavirus thing. And, they said in quotes, like, everything that's going on. I was like, okay, yeah. Like, what do you mean everything that's going on? She's like, everything with, like, the protests and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, hey, what do y'all think of George Floyd?
Lord.
And these are the neighbors that have, what is it?
We back the blue.
Yeah, we back the blue type, sign on the front yard or Blue Lives Matter type,
Yeah.
So I'm like interested to hear, because I knew I was like, they say never to talk about like politics and religion with people, right? So I'm like, does George Floyd count? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I want to see kind of like where they're at on this, and then the answers I got, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so right after it, they were talking about like, the whole George Floyd thing, it's just tragic. They're keeping it soft at first. And then they're talking about, but just this country, this, this world that we're living in, like even the city that we're in, which we're in Irving, they're like, the way that it used to be here was so great. And then look at it now, like, ugh. And I'm like, I love Irving. I think it's great. I was like, what do you mean look at it now? She's like, I know, but look what it's become. I'm like, I don't know.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you're seeing.
Right.
But to me, this is one of the best cities ever. Like, I was like, what do you like, Dallas? And she was like, oh, we hate Dallas. And I was like, yeah, so what's wrong with Irving? She's like, and then the husband jumped in. He's like, let's just say it started getting bad when he started letting other ethnicities in. I was like, and then I was like,
goodness.
I was like, other ethnicities, like, yeah, 114? I was like, yeah. Well, 114 past that used to be nothing but grass, field. Now it's Indian town. I was like, okay. He said in South Irving, might as well be like Little Mexico. I was like, and I was like, so I don't see what the issue is. He's like, before we were younger, it used to just be a small town. And whenever they started letting other things in, it just started getting worse. And I feel sorry for my kids, because they're going to live in a world that's just terrible. you know, and then he was talking about kind of gassing a little bit about like even the things they do to Trump. You know, I was just like,
yeah,
wow.
they're big Trump supporters.
But see, the part that, well, I was really interested in this conversation was that, you know, I told him about me being like first generation Nigerian. I said, my parents weren't born here. So there's a lot of things about the culture that I'm trying to like ask and understand to see other people's perspective on it.
Right.
You know, so he's being like completely honest and I'm giving him like questions that require like long answers. And I was like, you got to go. He's like, no, I got time.
Yeah, but the wife didn't though. She left.
The wife, as soon as he said, the time started going down is when they started letting other ethnicities in. She's like, hey, Michael, I got something in the house. I'll be right back. Let me go take care of a few things. I'll be right back.
Because she already know what's about to go down.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, but it started getting worse the more I started asking questions because he was like, you know, he looked at it as it's not a situation of race, you know, but it was a two-sided combo because he was talking about how it is about race, not really about race. Cause he was saying, you know, the whole George Floyd thing, he said, you know, people even give time for the guy to get convicted or charged before people start rioting. I'm like, or not rioting, people started protesting. I was like, well, it's usually because nothing ever happened. So that's not true. I was like, are you telling me if they didn't have a camera on him that like this guy would be indicted or charged? He's like, yes. I'm like, that's not true.
Oh my goodness.
That's not true. I'm like, I don't know what news you're getting. He's like, no, the thing about it, Michael, is that why people make it a black and white thing is that it also happens to white people. I'm like, I know, I'm sure it does, but I didn't ever see videos.
Right.
I never see, he's like, yeah, Michael, because it's not news. It's not news when a white person gets killed. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. I was like, well, I've never seen a video or anything of a white guy being choked out and murdered or someone who, you know, has a knee on his neck being murdered and all that. But it's there. I was like, where is it? He's like, I read newspapers and it's in there. I'm like, okay, you know?
They're like what, in their late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, early 80s.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was a month and a half ago in May. Or you say, a month ago where they celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to go to a 30 or actually a 60-day cruise.
Oh my God.
A long cruise.
Wow.
And they said they had to cancel it.
Yeah.
They're really disappointed. They said like, you know, we made other memories. Like they're like, you know, he said he made steaks and, you know, he burned a little bit. It was just a sweet time us at home. It was just so great. I'm like, that's really great, you know?
Right.
But I'm like, did you feel a little bit disappointed with the whole thing, with how? She's like, yeah, but it's our 60th and we'll make it up. And, you know, but that was before. That was the pleasantries that we exchanged. But even through all this, I was shocked, but I wasn't like surprised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when he was expressing all this, you know, he's giving his reasons, and that's the reason why we're there so long, is that I feel like the stuff he was saying wasn't true. He felt like the stuff I was saying was just off. And I was like, that's not true. I'm like, I was like, no one's sharing videos of black guys getting killed by the police to you every day. You're not seeing that. I'm like, but it's literally an everyday thing. Yeah. Like of an innocent, he's like, no. When you say innocent, I'm like, look, when an unarmed black person is killed by an officer, especially a white officer, it's just different the way that you take it. And he's like, well, it happens to white people every time. I'm like, well, look, there needs to be video. And then it got back to where he brought up slavery. That got even weirder because he was talking about how, you know, you could like the when slavery was abolished, that they gave the previous slaves the option to have everything that everyone else had. I'm like, that's not true. They didn't give them the right to vote or education. He's like, but that came through progression, but they had all the opportunity. I was like, that's not true. He's like, if, you know, a lot of the reasons why these things happen now, again, I feel like it's the ignorance. You know, I feel like it's more ignorance than even racism almost sometimes. Yeah. Because they're not saying black people. They're just more like, why don't they do it like us? Right. Or, you know, because they're saying that an interaction with a white officer and a white civilian is different than an interaction of a white officer and a black civilian. I'm like, yeah, it is different. Why is that? Yeah. He's like, because, you know, when they pull over a white person or when they have a white person, they don't resist arrest. He's listing all these like ignorant things. They don't resist arrest. They cooperate. They're respectful. And that's why he doesn't end up like that. I'm like, yeah, but sometimes you could do the exact right thing and be cooperative and still end up dead. It happens all the time. He says, that's not true, Mike. I was like, it happens all the time.
Oh my goodness.
Are you like, he thinks that this incident with the whole George Floyd thing is like blown out of proportion, and he's saying that, they're lucky they lifted it to a second degree because the other two guys were rookies. So it's not really on them. It's really on him. But they did say something that was interesting, which was, they said, like, they feel sorry for police, which a lot of people do because of how much stuff they have to take care of.
Right.
And in the case that a police officer, they said, we need to reevaluate the role of a police officer because they have to get called in for everything, for pregnancies and domestic violence issues and suicide issues and all different type of issues that they get called in first when they think it should be more specific to what they're trained for, which is actually,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's enlightening because they are called for everything, and maybe they should be more focused versus like kind of general because they only go to school for 840 hours, and to get a barber license is 1,500 hours. Yeah, well, they changed it to 1,000, but 1,500. It was 1,500 hours, and you tell me that a barber has to be more trained or has more hours of training than a police officer.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wild, right?
It's very wild.
Yeah, so we're out there, and then. Eventually he was, so he's saying that, the released slaves had the option to choose their native last name or their slave owner's name. And a lot of the released slaves chose their slave owner's name because they wanted to make them proud. I was like, they want to make them proud. I was like, why would they want to make a person who owned them or enslaved them proud? And he's like, because they have a lot of writings on it where, the slave owners treated the slaves very well. I was like, oh.
This sucks because like I was telling you, because when you called me and told me about this, I gasped maybe like 20 times. Yeah. I was just like, like a movie, and then I'm just like, but old people, you really just can't change the way they think. Y'all could have argued all day. Y'all could have pulled out your phones and newspapers and showed proof all day. He's still going to believe what he believes.
And it's crazy because I shared, because, at that moment, right after everything happened, because he's like, hey, Mike, hey, I gotta go in the house real quick. I got to grab something. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Right. And, when he started with the whole ethnicities thing, my heart started beating like crazy. I was like, whoa, this is a different type of conversation I'm about to have, And when I was telling, right after I tried to call a few people to say like, am I tripping or did this just happen? Like, sometimes you get your experiences like, because he was talking to me, he's basically saying that I should even be living next to him. Yeah. Because of my ethnicity. But then, he's telling me and being honest, like I'm not black. So it's just it was a very vexing situation.
Was so weird. He was so honest with you. But it's like, it was as if you weren't black. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he was like, and those people. You're like, what do you mean those people? Like, I am one of those people. Like, do you not see that?
Yeah, but when I told him about the whole me being Nigerian, then he's saying, that's a big difference, And, before he had to leave, when I was trying to contact a few people, no one's answering. I was like, okay. And eventually when I did share this story, the story was like compelling and gasp and all that until I'm like, oh yeah, he was 80 or something. People are like, that's how they are. And I was like, oh, what? You think that's an excuse? He's like, but that's how they are. Yeah, exactly. Like he's like, one guy was like, he was in it during the whole thing. Like he was there during like segregation. Right. You know what I mean? Like through all this. And you can't change the mind and the thought, and then one person said, with people like that, you just got to let them die off, like eventually they'll die off. I was like, what?
Damn.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, right. So that all happened and my heart's beating, all that kind of stuff. Right. So I finally calmed down. I'm like doing work, for the business and all that. And then while I'm on the phone expressing these situations, I get the door rings, ding, 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 right? And I'm on the phone. I was like, hey, hold on, bro. Someone's at my door. I look in the, was it the
peephole?
The peephole. I was like, it's my neighbor. He's like, bro, who? I was like, my neighbor, the guy I was talking about.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, so now my heart's beating again. I was like, okay, what is this?
Oh God.
Yeah. So I cracked it, but then I kind of opened it like I'm not even tripping. Yeah. Right. And he's like, got your mail. I was like, oh. Thank you. And then he's like, I was like, you got it from, I said, they left this in your mailbox? He's like, no, I mean, this is from your mailbox. And that's where the whole thing started. And then after that, I was like, okay, it's as if nothing kind of really ever happened.
Right.
He even assisted in getting us the information or the footage for what happened. But that's where I thought, is this part of the story? Am I being intimidated by my white neighbors? You know?
Oh my goodness.
But it definitely wasn't that to the level of which I could prove.
Right.
You know, but it was definitely over an experience. And I told you as it was happening.
Yeah.
You didn't even know the story yet.
No, I didn't.
You just knew about the
mailbox
being gone.
Yeah, that was it. And then you was like, no, you were at their house when I was on the phone with you on my way home. And you were telling me, oh, yeah, I'm checking the camera. We're checking to see who hit the mailbox. And then you were like whispering because you're next to them. You're like, there's more to the story. Hold on. There's more to the story. And I'm like, ooh, tell me. I can't wait to hear. You know, and finally when you leave their house, you're like telling me the conversation you had with them. I'm like,
yeah, all these guys like, what?
I'm like, what? He said that?
Yeah.
I mean, in the rumor in the neighborhood, I mean, they are pretty.
Yeah, and
you know,
that's the rumor.
That's the rumor. They're not really for brown people. But ever since we moved in the neighborhood, they've been extremely nice to us. But I don't know if it's because we're their neighbor and they have to be nice to us.
I feel that, you know, there's a lot of things you can't prove here.
Yes, yeah.
You just have to give the benefit. Because, you know, one thing that I felt trumped everything was like, at the end of the day, he is being neighborly.
Exactly. Like, and he's always been since day one.
Yeah, he's helped us at the when it comes to the pool. When it comes to
everything.
Everything.
Day one. It was as if their friend lived in this house before we moved in, and they were here for what, 20, 30 years or something. So they know this house inside and out. So when we had issues, we would go to our neighbors and they're like, oh yeah, I know about that. They'll come fix the pool, whatever issues we had, they were here to help. So even with that conversation happening, it's just like at the end of the day, you know, we can't change their mindset, but as long as we can respect each other as neighbors and help each other, that's what it is.
Even more powerful is that you can have a conversation, you know what I mean, and understand like really where someone's coming from rather than being like cautious, because that happens like in our relationship, her and I. There's not a situation where I'm like, okay, I do figure out how can I say it so it doesn't cause this, but I always end up saying it.
Yeah. And
if it's a situation where you're being overly cautious and you aren't saying the exact things that are on your mind and how you feel, then it's just not an honest conversation.
Right, exactly.
You know, so listen to that. But you know what I kind of heard through the cracks of it though? Okay, this is my theory on the whole thing. Let me not even say theory.
Okay.
This is my how I understand the entire experience is that, you know, okay, white people have been here for a long time here, right?
Right.
Having like first come, first serve on most of everything that's been here, right? That first opportunity, first everything. Now, when equality started to creep in, it gives people the chance to catch up.
Right.
And not everyone within who was being restricted, and that's people of color who weren't given certain rights early, or when they're supposed to be given, and when they're earned, we took that and leveraged it and did other things with it, which has a lot to do with the fights that were of the past, right? Yeah. So the fact that he doesn't have, I would consider, the wealth, you see what I'm saying, to separate himself and to move into places that are exclusively to what he likes.
Exactly.
He's mad that everyone's kind of catching up, because the fact that your neighbor who's brown and or black has the income that you have or greater to be in the same neighborhood as you, but yet you feel that it went bad because other colors were coming into your neighborhood.
Exactly.
It's to say that you had the opportunity to take all the things that you've been entitled to and things that you've always had and leverage it to really have an income that could, there's some levels of income where you're not going to see hardly anybody other than white people.
Right.
In these neighborhoods, you're going to see probably nobody else other than white people. When they start seeing, because white flight is real, where you start having certain people move into a neighborhood and they're like, no, I'm not having that. And it's mainly because in the past, all the redlining where they wouldn't even let black people go into certain neighborhoods. That wasn't even allowed. In the areas that black people were in, they redlined it and put, the little X on it saying that this area is hazardous.
Wow.
They call it hazardous, and this was happening. And eventually, it was like the land is so valuable that now they do things like gentrification to kind of revitalize the area that they gave to a certain one, because now that is kind of like in demand.
Yeah.
Given this locale, then those people there have to move somewhere else. But it happens also where the leverage and time that you had to build your income to get to a level to where you could create that separation and have those private parties in the parks, and the pool, whatever, in your backyard, and not see a neighbor for another 600 to feet to a football field away.
Yeah.
Like you could have had that, but the fact that now that people are catching up, they feel like they're becoming weaker.
Well, maybe he felt like he did have that when they moved in this neighborhood 20, 30 years ago. Because I'm sure it was all white. I mean, it still is. We're the only black people. I mean, on our street, I don't know about, I don't never see black people in this neighborhood.
I don't see any, okay, we have an apartment that's behind us, and, you see black and Indian there, but at least in the homes that are all around us, I haven't seen any black people, because we be on a search.
Yeah, we be walking, we be bringing the kids out, we be outside. So, and a lot of people in this neighborhood walk, and I never see black people. Maybe one time, and there's a high school right down the street, actually the high school you went to, and there's, it's very mixed over there. But I'm like, where do they live at? Because they don't live over here.
Yeah, and it's that's why I always push, like, for people to try to get into ownership or to go into real estate, because the rumors. Some people learn online, like, it's better to get an apartment than it is a house. I'm like, no, one of the main wealth builders in this country is real estate.
Yeah,
that's like one of the first things that you have the opportunity to own and do what you will with.
Right.
And if you're not going to own it for yourself, at least own it and then rent it out or do something to that capacity.
Exactly.
So. But at the end of the day, I still have love for him and all other neighbors, because there's some, even the ones that don't wave, I still wave.
I know, that was funny. I think yesterday we waved at one. Yeah. But I don't think they waved back.
Yeah, Bly was like, oh, I don't think they saw you. I'm like, they never see me. They never see me.
They look right past us.
Yeah, and it's funny, they'll be looking up at us, but I don't think they recognize
Maybe they're not familiar with the wave.
Yeah, and by the time you look up, they're like, oh, babe, they didn't see us. Okay. I was like, oh, nah.
I said that to spare your feelings.
Yeah. So, but how does that make you feel, though? Did it make you feel more accomplished, or does it make you feel proud?
Yeah. I mean, to be the only black people in this neighborhood definitely makes me feel very accomplished. Feel like we're doing something right. But then at the same time, I voiced to you since
to be the only black people.
No, that's what I'm saying. I voiced to you before, like, I would like to be in a mixed neighborhood, because I want our kids to be able to play with all different races, grow up with all different races, Yeah,
that's how they learn the most.
Yeah, and that's how it was with me growing up.
Same thing with me.
Yeah, my neighborhood was, it was a lot of Asian and black, and we had a few Hispanics, not a lot. We had a few white, not a lot, but it was predominantly Asian. All my friends were like every single shade. So it was just kind of cool, like getting to know everybody's culture, So I think that's like really important, especially for our boys. And so for us to be in this neighborhood, I think there's only one kid on our street, which, we love, but it's just like he's a little bit older than the boys. So it's like, okay, we kind of want to be in a neighborhood where it's a lot of different, shades, so they can kind of get familiar with that. But they get that at their daycare. Yeah. I feel like there's pretty much everybody at their daycare.
Yeah, and because, the way it makes me feel is that, like, similar to what you're saying, like, definitely when there's a diverse set of people that they can learn from, because all those different backgrounds creates all those soft skills that make them a better, like, they can socialize really well.
Exactly.
They're not uncomfortable with other people,
and they can try, like, the different foods. They can learn the languages. Yeah.
So that's why I looked at it more like, that sucks that he feels that the world's not getting better, right? Because in his eyes, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, this place is great.
I know, right? I thought that was weird too. But then it was just like, at first, the first 20 minutes of the story, I gasped. But then after a while, I was just like,
yeah, it is what it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My grandfather was the same way. Like, he was, an old man, and he just had his way of thinking. You could not convince him otherwise.
What happens when your your grandfather was telling a story? Like, you just listen?
It would be the same way. He would tell a story, and it would be smart of you to not argue with this man. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just have to sit there and listen, because my grandfather passed away in his like mid to late 70s, maybe, or 80s. Heck, I can't even remember. But yeah, it was, you don't argue with him, because he's stuck in his ways, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it's like, and they got time.
Yeah, they had too much time.
Yeah.
Too much time.
So it's one of those things where, again, you amongst, because I was still surprised, but no, after I said the age, people like, I'm not surprised. I'm thinking somebody in their late like 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, now that's
that.
different. To be arguing with somebody about that, our age is like, ooh.
But you know, it's even weirder when you see young kids that are anywhere between the age of like 8 and like 16 who like who are racist, like do racist joke with blackface stuff, and you're thinking, but you gotta
like, blame their parents.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
it's how they're raised.
How is that you learn that type of stuff now?
Because their parents do that, and their parents encourage it, and they talk crap about other races in front of them. You know what I mean? That's like bullies at school. Their dad probably bullies them at home, or you know, whatever. So it's like they learn that from somebody. Who else they gonna learn it from? Their parents.
That's true. A lot of it is from their parents, and when you see it, you know, a lot of those times when I see those like racist jokes, right? I know in their circle, they're trying to say something funny,
right? Exactly.
But they don't ever assume that there's gonna be one person within the circle who's like,
that ain't feeling it.
Yeah, I don't really like that. What you doing? And then they share it, and they're like, I apologize. I'm sorry for what I did. I wasn't thinking straight. Everyone who knows me knows that's not like me. No,
that's you.
That's you. 100%.
That's 100% you.
Yeah, and they always do the. What do you think about the apology? Like, what is your view on an apology in general?
I don't know. I'm not good at accepting apologies. I'm not. I just feel like if you were comfortable to do that with your group of friends, that is you. That is 100% you. You know, you may not have wanted that to go out and have people know that that's the type of jokes that you crack with your friends, but you are your most comfortable when you with your friends. So if you can do blackface in front of your friends, that is you. That's who you are as a person.
But do you feel like, you know, like when people apologize after, do you feel like it's significant or it's helpful or it's hard to tell when something's genuine when you can't prove someone's intentions behind what they did, because you do something as a joke, which people make jokes all the time. Right. And then usually, it's happened a lot with gay and trans, where when those people didn't have a voice, gay and trans people, you usually make them the butt of the joke because they're the weakest people voice-wise. So you could say something and be like, ha ha ha, and they point and laugh, you know?
I see what you're saying.
And, you know, I kind of came to that when I was hearing a story about a little kid, and it's very enlightening. A little kid, he had autism. Okay. But the dad, who kind of coddled him a little bit, never told him anything was wrong with them. He told him that by the time you're an adult, you'll grow out of it. You know, so he's like, okay, so he's just a little bit different, a little bit like, I would say, like, people considered him as weird. Yeah. And when he was a child, you know, there was like programs and stuff to support him. But then when he became an adult, which he thought when he turned 20 years old, that's when he thought an adult, would be. He was waking up on his birthday thinking something's going to change. Oh, wow. Something's going to change. Yeah. And he woke up and he didn't feel very different. And then the day started going on. He didn't feel very different, hoping. And then he ended up like getting depressed. Oh, no. Because he's a high functioning person with autism, but he felt, because dad kept saying, you'll get better. They'll find things that he's really good at, like bowling. But the fact that he didn't do like a summer league or a league into bowling because the dad didn't want him to kind of go into like group situations, because he doesn't thrive in like group situations, right? Yeah. So the thing that enlightened me on the whole thing about what I was saying is, when he started getting to an age where he was out of school, he would come home with bruises. Oh no! And he would get bullied all the time. Not only because he's autistic, but he's also black. So people call him. He said, "People call me the N-word. People will spit at me." Oh, and you're hearing all this, you're like, "What?" And when you think about the average or a regular sensible person in society, they don't treat people like that. Right. But we got those extreme people who feel threatened by someone who's not like them, right? To a certain extent. And when you could bully and treat them like, because they don't have a voice and no one's gonna believe them, you take advantage.
That's so sad to me.
Yeah, it's sad, you know? So he's coming home with bruises and the parents are like, what's going on? And he said, just that's everywhere I go, people bully me and all that. And it just kind of made me think about those who are powerless or don't have a voice. They're usually the ones that you joke on, until they finally speak up. And then you're like, I can't use this joke anymore. Right, exactly. And that's why I feel like when you're not gonna see, you used to see a blackface all the time. And nigger jokes that people put like in
Yeah.
songs or whatever, and the ending part, the funny part is the N-word,
Yeah.
right? But now, you know, like you're seeing less of it, you know, being at least expressed. You know, it's almost like when they said, you know, the whole "Make America Great Again," they said "Make racists scared again." I feel like it's like starting to happen.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, then it does kind of make you worry a little bit though.
Yeah, because didn't a boy like last week in Irving, he was I think he took a picture of himself with blackface.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and,
this was just last week, I think.
yeah, it was, and Irving was trending on Twitter.
That's crazy.
And I was like, Irving where? I'm thinking another place like Irving, California or something like that.
Like, Irving, Texas.
Yeah, it's Irving, Texas. And they show this like little kid who's like 12 years old, who has a blackface, and he's like doing something or whatever. And then like the school district basically said like, we don't condemn stuff like that, but they felt that they were kind of letting him go. You know, like they weren't taking it as he needed discipline or any type of like repercussion. It was just more like, let's make a statement about it. We're going to talk to him. And it was just a light,
right.
I guess a light reaction to what it was. Whereas other people took it personally,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So it's things like that, you know, that happen to, that's why I always feel like those jokes happen when that person you're joking on has a voice or could beat you up. Because, you know what I mean? Like people who could joke really rarely got beat up. Because if you could clown somebody, when you could clown somebody, come on, like no one really wants to like get in that person's area. That's really, that's why all the comedians you see that are like really good are like the short ones, the ones who have something where people just clown them. They're like maybe super unattractive, or they're short, or something's different about them that they had to have that defense, and that defense became so good that no one tried them again.
Right, exactly.
You know? But want to know a cool word?
Yeah, what's the word?
Okay, the word is loquacious.
What?
Loquacious.
Loquacious.
Yeah. I got a homeboy named Loquacious.
You do?
No.
Oh.
So,
oh my goodness.
Loquacious is a word, and that word means very wordy, extra talkative.
Oh, that's you. Michael is very loquacious.
Yeah, they say when you're wordy, or I didn't see long-winded.
Oh, but that's not you.
Yeah. You know, but do you know people who are long-winded?
Yes.
It's really difficult, right?
Yeah, because I'm like holding my breath while they're talking. I'm like, let me get a word in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but you know people who are loquacious who are like talkative. I know you're looking at.
I'm married to one. What you saying? You very loquacious.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good word.
It's a good word. And so what I was gonna say is there any other things that you want to kind of talk about or talk to the people?
No, just everybody stay safe. I know everybody's doing the peaceful protesting out there, so that's what's up.
Yeah, and today's been a good day. We're about to go get this mailbox.
Oh Lord.
Wish us luck.
Yeah, pray for us.
Hope it goes well. It was good talk. Yeah. Good talk. I'll see y'all later. Peace out.
Bye guys.
And remember to eat your fruits and drink your water. And also, never confuse movement with action.